Let's just look at a few examples of the countries that have explicitly given some thought to integrating renewables into their NDCs. And we already mentioned a few countries before, looking at sectors in which renewables contribute to adaptation in different countries, and examples of countries that specified renewables as a measure to address energy resilience, and also renewables, basically whether they submitted NDCs without worrying about how to combine renewables into them or not, right? So here we are looking at integrated approach. So countries again, Burkina Faso, Dominican Republic, Ethiopia, Somalia, and so on. Nationally determined contributions from their side which indicate an integrated approach go like this. Production and distribution of improved cook stoves, so including biomass, is mentioned as a part of mitigation and adaptation actions in the energy waste recycling sector. The use of biodigester in husbandry sector and wood saving is also mentioned in the adaptation part. Large parts of Asia, Latin America, and Africa burn biomass for cooking purposes, which have lots of side effects on indoor air quality, health. In fact, there is some nice work showing that even during COVID, despite all the reductions in consumption, emissions, pollution, etc., many of the indoor air quality issues remained and may have made things worse because people didn't go out as much and so on. So we have to worry about all those confounding factors for biofuels. So wood saving obviously will then count into NDC as part of the mitigation adaptation action, and that's what Burkina Faso did. For Dominican Republic, while the NDC includes mitigation co-benefits resulting from the actions of adaptation, it mentions an integrated approach in the following sectors. In agriculture, promote integrated food, water, energy systems in smart agriculture and resistant to climate change. Smart agriculture is now a bit of a catch-all, and depending on who's doing it, industrial farming companies versus individuals, it can mean very different things, and the information they get also may be very different. In energy, promote water, energy, land interaction with renewable energy sources. And Ethiopia says, as part of its initiatives to reduce vulnerabilities to adverse climate impacts, Ethiopia will be able to increase energy access in rural areas as addressing both climate adaptation and mitigation objectives. So at least they have stated these goals as integrated approaches. In Somalia, renewables, namely solar, wind, hydro, and geothermal, are mentioned as potential solutions addressing both mitigation and adaptation. For example, hydro is mentioned in the context of power generation and irrigation. So sectoral links made there. Somalia gets a lot of bad rap for all its problems and governance issues, but it's good that it's part of the global negotiations on climate, and it expresses an interest to participate in the process. Moving on, examples of countries that specify the use of distributed renewable energy systems to adapt to climate change. So they include again Ethiopia, Nigeria, Togo, and Uganda. Nationally determined contributions then state increasing energy access in rural areas is a measure to address the country's adaptation and mitigation objectives, integrated. Decentralized transmission to reduce the vulnerability of energy infrastructure to climate impacts. We'll come back to resilience again in several ways. And this is listed as a part of the adaptation policy framework. Okay. Togo lays out the establishment of incentives for renewable energy use, creation of a national rural electrification agency. Uganda, expanding use of off-grid solar system to support value addition and irrigation promoting renewable energy, is listed as a long-term goal for adaptation. Okay. Another table, examples of countries that specify non-energy services for renewables as a part of adaptation that we've been discussing, and now here in NDCs. So this is Lao Democratic Republic. It's Laos, but it's the something Democratic Republic. It skips my mind suddenly. Okay. Morocco, Seychelles, Sudan, Tonga, Uganda, and Zambia. Just to read off a few. People's Democratic Republic. Why do I struggle with that? Hydroelectricity has great potential in Lao PDR, providing clean energy and also meet other objectives such as flood, irrigation, and water supply management. Let's read these just because they are interesting in terms of how countries themselves have considered these non-energy services. Morocco, construction of 3 dams per year on average as part of building resilience for water storage rather than power generation. So obviously dams are good for hydro, but they are also thinking of water storage to deal with water resilience in the water sector. Seychelles includes a waste, so small island, includes a waste to energy facility like biogas in the waste management sector, and dams as a tool to increase water storage capacity. Surprisingly, islands which are surrounded by ocean are having lots of water issues. Some nice work by Christopher Karnauskas of CU Boulder on that front. Sudan, small, again another country that has lots of issues but still participating in climate solutions, climate negotiations, actions, and so on. Small hydro plant, especially in combination with irrigation sites, energy recovery by generation of electricity or gas from waste, introduction of agroforestry in areas vulnerable to climate change to enhance agricultural production are included in NDCs. Tonga biomass, biogas facilities are included in the waste management sector, so these links are very important. Uganda, ensuring the best use of hydropower by careful management of the water resources is listed as a long-term goal for adaptation. Zambia includes adaptation and mitigation co-benefits areas and protection and conservation of water catchment areas and enhanced investment in water capture, storage, and transfer linked to agriculture, energy, ecological, industrial, and domestic use purposes in selected watersheds. So it gives you a sense that countries have put in some work to link various sectors. Consideration of renewable energy in national adaptation plans. So these are renewable energy implementation mentioned in sectoral activities. These are the regions, countries, so Burkina Faso, Ethiopia, Sri Lanka, and Togo. So the sectors are buildings, electricity access, energy resilience, water, and sanitation. So this is a longer table we'll come back to, and probably that brings us fairly close to the end of summarizing this particular IRENA report. It's only 8 minutes here, but it's okay to have 1 or 2 podcasts that are shorter, just to arrange them properly in terms of continuity and so on. So we'll come back and try to conclude. Okay.